We get not one, but two title fights this weekend in Las Vegas for UFC 320. Magomed Ankalaev and Merab Dvalishvili look to defend their title belts against Ankalaev-Pereira and Sandhagen, respectively. Both reigning champs are solid favorites in their matches in the eyes of oddsmakers out in Sin City. My bet's always on BC. We're going to get to some betting later on with our Brasco bets. But first, we hammer down some storylines with Brian Campbell for UFC 320. And BC, let's start with that light heavyweight title. And let's start with the challenger slash former champ, Ankalaev-Pereira, seeking revenge from, 6-7 months ago from what was anything but a classic fight.
No doubt about it. Look, Alex Pereira was the fighter of the year in 2024. Set a record with 3 title defenses in 175 days. But a big theme during that stretch was how willing he was able to fight hurt, fight on short notice. And when you live that lifestyle, you do wonder if it catches up to you. Now, Poatan is not an excuse maker, and this wasn't information he shared, let's say, willingly. But if you reach back and watch their March fight at UFC 313, you did not see the Alex Poatan Pereira that we're used to as that stalking knockout threat to division champion. You saw somebody who Joe Rogan, the UFC analyst, went public and said may have been suffering a broken hand and a battle with neurovirus. One thing Pereira did admit to me ahead of this fight is he was only 40%. And remember, that fight was closer than a lot of people remember. 3-2 on 2 of the 3 judges' scorecards. But we did see a diminished Poatan who was backed up to the cage, did not press forward. What will a potentially healthy, refocused Alex Pereira bring? Oh, the big-time threat of a knockout, and I have to imagine an exciting rematch come this Saturday.
By the way, what do we make of the little bit of Brian Campbell-style hair that we think Pereira has? Because this is a tail of the tape where he has that classic fade look. It looks like he's got a little bit of hair coming into this fight, BC.
Well, look, maybe it's part of that chip on his shoulder, trying to come back and regain that UFC gold that he feels was taken from him.
As for the champ himself, making that first title defense at 205, does he still have something to prove despite a 14-match unbeaten streak?
He does, and it's crazy to say. Look, Ankalaev's from the Dagestan region in Russia. We know that region for big-time success in MMA, whether we're talking about Khabib Nurmagomedov, Islam Makhachev. But the thing about Ankalaev, despite his 21-1 career record, is he sometimes leaves a little bit on the table. He wins fights due to the technical ability he brings, and let's give him credit. He put the pressure on Pereira consistently in the first fight, and it worked. But even Ankalaev said it himself in the build to this rematch. He feels like he left a lot of opportunities there that he did not capitalize upon, especially when he hurt Poatan midway through the fight and all those takedown attempts, which were shockingly stuffed by Pereira. But even Ankalaev said it himself. If he just would have stepped on the gas, he wondered if he could have finished the now former champion. Having studied Ankalaev's career, look, he'll get the B-level, the C-level guys out of there with no problem. But when he does face off with elite fighters, sometimes that tentative aspect, that second guessing, does seem to become a factor for a fighter who can really do it all. He's technical on the feet. He's an outstanding wrestler. Heck, if you come from Dagestan, you better be an outstanding wrestler. As much as Pereira has a big opportunity to rewrite the script in this rivalry, don't forget, Ankalaev has said outright, this story is not about Pereira regaining his belt. This story is about me finishing him.
Okay, so that's going to be Russia versus Brazil in the co-main, the bantamweight title. You've got Georgia, the other Georgia, against the USA here. And for the machine here, the champ facing, we talk about styles making fights, BC. Sandhagen, what challenge does he present Dvalishvili here at 135?
An awkward, skilled, unorthodox challenge, and that's the real pull, entertainment-wise, into what we can expect here. Look, is Merab a big favorite? Yes, he is. He should be. He's top 5 pound for pound. He's won 13 in a row. He's got the best gas take in all of MMA, and even when he's outskilled, he just has this knack to outwill and outlast his opponents. But there's one thing that Sandhagen brings. It's a complete, well-rounded attack and a very, like I said, awkward style of unleashing it. He lands jumping knees for knockouts, which perfectly could be a kryptonite to that constant threat of the takedown that Merab brings. He also just has a varied attack in which he regularly switches stances. What he can do is potentially make Merab second guess himself. For as great as Merab has become, I don't want to say he's basic, right? But there's something traditional about the offense that he brings. Sandhagen is that abstract type of performer. He's got a great gas tank in his own right, and you have to look up and down and say this might be the toughest style matchup of Merab's great career up to this point, as he looks for not only the third defense of his bantamweight title, but tries to become just a select few of UFC greats who have defended their own title 3 times in the same calendar year. And oh, by the way, Merab's saying, I can come back in December to be the first one to do it 4 times. He's got to get through Corey Sandhagen first on Saturday.
Great stuff as always. Brian Campbell, never enough time, but always dropping the right stuff here on HQ. By the way, the light heavyweight is fully represented in this main card as well. When you take a look at some of the other fights, including Yuri Prochazka and Khalil Roundtree, potentially the winner of this one could be on deck to face the winner of Ankalaev-Pereira. However, there is Carlos Ulberg standing in their way. Let's continue our discussion of UFC 320. Again, the main card out in Las Vegas at T-Mobile Arena. As always, check around, find the best number, and best of luck to all of our bettors. Let's bring in Danny Vithlani for some best bets for UFC 320. Prelim version first. We've got women's bantamweight you're targeting.
Yeah, that's right, Tommy. And the prelims are filled with chalk. You got to find some value. I'm going to grab Macy Chiasson at -180 before the line gets too wide. I think she could have real stock in the women's bantamweight division. She's taller, longer, and younger than her opponent, Yana Santos, in this fight. Santos isn't all that dangerous. She's landed just 1 knockdown in the UFC, whereas Chiasson can piece her up at range. She's got a long, straight right hand, good teeps up the middle, and she can handle herself in the clinch as well. I think Chiasson, if she hadn't taken that really peculiar KO loss, where she took an up kick to the liver to Irene Aldana, might be a bantamweight title contender. So look for her to get past Yana Santos in this matchup and continue rising up this division.
Okay, about -180 in terms of that matchup. Let's get to your best bet for Ankalaev-Pereira.
Wow, second fight coming around, and I couldn't believe how the mystique was just drained away from Alex Poatan Pereira. But it's hard for me to say this because I'm such a fan. I think the book is out on him, at least for a high IQ fighter like Magomed Ankalaev, who fights out of the southpaw stance and really gives Pereira tricky looks. We know about Pereira's devastating left hook, his vicious low kicks, but the southpaw look kind of neutralizes both of those. Ankalaev, for a long time, those low kicks were the biggest hole in his defense. We remember Jan Blachowicz making him do the chicken dance, had him like a flamenco out there, but since then hasn't really taken too many low kicks. So if he can get that southpaw boxing going, defend Pereira's low kicks, and force the threat of the grappling once more, it really neutralizes the dangerous striker Pereira. I hate to say it, but I think a more dominant performance is coming from Ankalaev. I think he could potentially put Pereira away in this one. You heard BC just talk about how Pereira was dealing with some sickness. How about Ankalaev fasting for Ramadan during fight week last time around? If he comes in better shape, there's a world where he looks even more dominant. I'm taking him on the spread at -5.5 on the combined judges scorecard to win at least a 49-46 or maybe even get Pereira out of there.
Love the analysis. And again, -110, much better than -230. What about the co-main?
So we're talking spreads here, and I like Corey Sandhagen in the spread market as well. I'm going to take him +9.5. Again, this comes down to the combined judges' scorecards. If Corey Sandhagen loses a 49-46 unanimous decision and wins just 1 round unanimously, we can cash this. I absolutely think he can make this a competitive fight against Merab Dvalishvili. Now, everyone's going to remember the disgusting chokehold he put Sean O'Malley in, but Corey's jiu-jitsu skills are way higher level. He was outpointed by Umar Nurmagomedov, but really neutralized a lot of his grappling advances. He was outpointed by Petr Yan, but won the first round against him. These are 2 of the highest level guys in the division. And I think against Merab, who just overwhelms you with his cardio, his pace, and his pressure, Corey won't necessarily break to that. Corey's a guy that can thrive in the chaos. He's a cerebral fighter. He's got nasty elbows, explosive flying knees. And Merab's been hurt real bad before. I can't stop replaying that Marlon Moraes fight where he was near death's door and somehow came back. Corey has the potential to hurt him and at least steal a round in this fight. So give me Sandhagen on the spread, Tommy.
Quickly, Dan, this is -150. What's the buy price for you if this ends up getting a little bit higher here?
I think -165, and I would stay off it there. 1 round for Corey is good value.
Okay, about 15-cent buffer. And then lastly here, favorite finish, a fight that BC didn't get a chance to talk about, but you're going to break it down.
This fight should have violence. Khalil Roundtree versus Yuri Prochazka. Give me the European samurai Yuri to put Khalil away. Khalil's looking better than he ever has in his career. He's got this really technical and vicious Muay Thai striking attack. But Yuri Prochazka with defense is a different animal. He's finally learned how to move his head, use that footwork a little bit, and he had that on display in that Jamal Hill fight. Roundtree has 3 knockout losses in his career. 2 of them have been to elbows, and 1 was to an uppercut. Those are 3 of Yuri's best significant strikes that he can throw. Look for a spinning elbow attack to put him away. I think Yuri's better than ever after his losses to Pereira, and we'll come back and show that here.
Okay, cannot wait for this weekend. We've got the knowledge all ready to go. Danny Vithlani joining us here on HQ. Brashko Bets. It is a good week to be a winner. 60% off the annual plan for new subscribers. Scan the QR code now or head to sportsline.com/join to get that discount.